The comparison is absolutely everywhere in sports. It's definitely showing up on the scoreboard. It's in the group text. It's on social media in the highlights. It's in the locker room at high schools. And it is absolutely on college campuses. When it goes unchecked, it's going to feed anxiety, spark team drama, and it's quietly stealing the confidence of your athletes. Today, I'm going to tell you how you can learn to recognize it, redirect it, and turn it into fuel instead of a roadblock.
Hello, and thank you for joining the Champion Within podcast, your premier go-to spot for unlocking your winning mindset. Whether you're an athlete looking to elevate your game to the next level, a coach leading the charge, an enthusiastic parent cheering from the sidelines, or an educator molding young minds, the Champion Within podcast episodes are packed with value, sharing the tools and strategies to unlock your potential and rise to new heights. Hosted by mentor, coach, and mindset leader Kate McCauley. Let's sit back and enjoy today's episode while discovering your champion within. And now, here's Kate.
Sports are absolutely built on measuring time, stats, rankings, and wins. That is absolutely not a bad thing. Competition is going to push athletes to grow. When my oldest son was really little and there's like little baller basketball leagues, I was the coach. And when you're at that level, you also become the ref. I think he was probably 5 or 6 years old. He was all about stats. He had notebooks full of NBA stats. He would write the players down. He knew exactly how many rebounds, baskets, assists, everything. It was kind of Rain Man-ish. It was really crazy. We were like, wow, this kid is crazy about these stats. Really good at math. Well, when he was playing at this bitty baller level, he would yell to me as I'm out on the court. You're basically forced to be the ref and the coach. 5 passes, 2 assists. Our team has 6 baskets. And then he would be telling me the other team's stats. I would be like, Danny, stop it. My teeth would be like together and I would be talking through my teeth. So like hoping he would hear me, but no one else. Like, are you kidding me? Because even though he wasn't saying this maliciously, it was more like, I'm just telling you the stats, Mom. I knew that the parents sitting on that elementary school stage in the little gym that we were in, who didn't volunteer to coach, by the way, and forced to be the ref, they most definitely were thinking, who's this kid saying like, oh, our team's got this, that, and the other thing for stats. The problem is when this happens and people are comparing and it stops becoming about the actual numbers and it becomes about the performance and their identity, that's when it's a problem. Instead of, I ran slower last week and it becomes, I'm not good enough, or we made more baskets, I'm a better player than them, right? These parents are thinking, who's this kid think he is, right? Ugh. Anyway, I would say, stop. And he really didn't get it because he'd be like, what's the big deal? I'm just talking about stats. He loved numbers. And as athletes get older and they're thinking things like, she's stronger than I am, to I'll never be like her. This is where talking down to yourself begins. The athlete's inner voice switches from that coach to the critic, from just, oh, these are cool stats, to every mistake is bigger. Every success actually starts to feel smaller. They start to believe that their worth is tied to where they rank, how much playing time they get, or what the coach said to them at practice. When the comparison becomes personal, anxiety ramps up. Your athletes are overthinking every movement. They play scared instead of being in the flow. Sometimes they even start to avoid situations where they might be looking bad. You're thinking to yourself, just go for it, take the shot. But they're thinking in their brain, I might miss. And that's exactly how their potential gets left on the table. There's actually a hidden link between this comparison that's happening and their anxiety and the confidence that's starting to drop. I can't tell you how many times I talk with coaches, parents, and athletes, and I hear, I want to be more confident, or they need to be more confident. All they need to do is just be more confident. And really what they need is a new relationship with comparison. Anxiety and confidence, they don't just appear one day. They don't just pop up on game day. It's actually built before, during, and after the competition. I want you to think about an athlete, maybe in the locker room before a big game. Instead of focusing on their own preparation, they're scrolling through social media. They're seeing athlete highlight reels. They notice maybe their teammates in the locker room tapping on their wrist, or a certain music that they're listening to, hype music that somebody says they always listen to. And they start wondering, am I doing everything right? Their brain starts comparing. They're thinking, wow, they seem so relaxed. Why am I so nervous? He's always the one the coach talks to. I'm probably just here as a backup. She's committed to a college already. I'm behind. That mental comparing, it's triggering anxiety. Their heart rate spikes, breathing gets shallow, and their focus is scattered all over the place in that locker room, in the game already, maybe in the last game, out in the hallway. Who knows? Maybe it's already back at home. It's definitely, before the game even started, all over the place, and they are emotionally drained. Over time, this pattern is chipping away at their confidence. The athlete begins to distrust their own preparation and their own instincts. They stop taking risks, they're avoiding leadership situations, and they're just playing it safe. Confidence isn't just about talent, it's about trust. And that comparison erodes the trust from the inside. I want to tell you a little secret here. This is about sports, but it's also about school, life, and their future career. The absolute worst thing is when this comparison spreads to the whole team. The drama and the toxic environment that happens make me sick. The comparison doesn't stay in one athlete's head. It seeps into an entire team culture. And this happens a lot. Literally, if you could see my face right now, I hate this so much because it is poison. When players are constantly measuring themselves against each other instead of aligning around a shared goal with the team drama is almost guaranteed. You'll hear it in little comments like, why does she always get the ball? Or maybe it's something like this. Coach only likes him because of his stats. They don't even try hard, and still, they're getting all the attention. Ugh, I can't with this. And before long, you have this toxic team environment. Cliques are forming, gossip grows. The athletes start competing with their own teammates instead of competing with the real opponents. Trust breaks down, and the communication gets so tense. It's passive aggressive. When athletes feel this lack of support from coaches, the comparison gets even louder. If the feedback is vague or focused only on a few star players, everyone else starts filling in the blanks with their own negativity. They have these negative stories floating through their head when this happens. Maybe I'm not important, or I'm just here to fill space. No matter what I do, it doesn't matter. In that kind of team environment, even the most talented players are going to struggle to perform at their best. No one's going to be in flow. The mental load here becomes so heavy, it's heavier than the actual physical load that they're carrying. There is a huge cost when your athletes are talking down to themselves. Here's what their self-talk might sound like. I always mess this up. Of course, the coach subbed me out. I'm terrible. She's the real MVP. I'm just here. If I make one mistake, it's over. This kind of talking down to yourself, it becomes a habit. The brain starts treating those thoughts like actual facts, even when they're not true. As this goes on, over time, these athletes don't just compare, they're quite literally going to shrink down. They are going to show up physically, but not mentally. They're going to go through the motions at practice while silently they're repeating those same negative stories. This is why sometimes you're going to see these athletes look really great in drills. If you're one of the coaches, you see this, but then they disappear in a game. That's their mindset, not their skill. Their mindset is holding them back. What are we going to do about it? Let's get to it. You need to understand that comparison is not going away. The goal here is not to pretend that you don't see other athletes' strengths or that I am the best one. Nope, that is not it. No toxic positivity here. The goal is going to be to change what you do with the information you get. We want to shift from this comparison to learning. Yes, if you've been here long enough, you know the teacher in me is always going to come out. So instead of the athlete just thinking, she's so much faster than me, I'm never going to get there, we want to shift to, okay, yeah, she's faster than me. What is she doing that I can study or apply? Another story about my son just popped into my brain. Totally goes along with this. Like, what can I do to get faster? He was watching ESPN. Again, he's older than the 5-6-year-old thing now. He's probably closer to like 8, 9. He sees that college athletes were getting roosters in their backyard, chasing them around to get faster. He comes and tells my husband and I want roosters in our backyard. I want to get faster. Tells me he saw this on ESPN. I said, Danny, we are not getting roosters. You can go get a parachute. I know you wanted a parachute. We'll get a parachute and you can go run up on the football field at the high school. I'll go with you to the track. We're not getting roosters, bud. We're not doing that. But that's exactly what he did, right? He saw this story about these athletes who were at college level trying to train to get into the pros. They were getting roosters, chasing them to get faster. So instead of saying, I'll never be as fast as those guys, he said, what are they doing? I want to do that too. How can I learn? That's what we're trying to shift here. This is moving them from the judgment to curiosity. Curiosity is going to reduce the anxiety and it opens up that door for growth. Second thing, we want the athletes to change this metric, define their own metrics here. How are we going to do that? So if you're only measuring stats, and stats aren't going away, but if we're only measuring things like points and playing time, then your confidence is going to be very fragile. But if you can add in process goals and things you can control, like your effort, your communication, your recovery, your mindset, your routines, these are things that you can control. You can't control how many minutes you play. You can't control what the coach does, but you can absolutely control how prepared you are when your name is called, what you do before and after. And you can keep record of these things. Third thing you can do is upgrade that inner voice. We got to teach our athletes how to do this. You have to first notice when you're talking down to yourself. This takes practice to notice it because it could be just everyday thoughts now. This is a habit. And when we notice it, then we have to train our brain. What do we do next after we notice it? The easiest way to do this is get back to that coach mode. Would I say this to a teammate? Would I say this if I was coaching someone else? And if the answer is no, then it doesn't belong in your head either. Not easy. I get that. But you need to be able to teach this and retrain your brain. Instead of I always mess this up, you want to retrain your brain into, all right, I missed. I'm trained for this. Next. Focused on the next play. Whatever their words are here is important. It can't be this fake toxic positivity. It has to be their words. I teach that to my athletes. They will sometimes say to me, oh, I hear your voice in my head, because I guide them through with the breath work and the visualization. And I'm okay with that. But ultimately, it is really their voice, even though I am the guide on the side, I like to tell them. It's important that it's that self-coaching. Along those lines, building these skills has to be on purpose. It's a practice and you are building upon it. It is not a one-time thing like, oh, I recognize I have negative self-talk, so now we're done. I know how to do this now. No, just like going to the gym, weight training, putting in the drills. I talked a lot about basketball, I feel like, with my son. You know, he didn't practice foul shooting twice. Like every day you're practicing that when you're a basketball player, right? You're out there practicing shooting. You don't just say, well, I did that a couple times. Same thing with visualization, breath work, all the techniques I use, EFT, which is emotional freedom technique. These are things that you're doing on purpose to regulate the nervous system. So this comparison doesn't automatically flip your athlete into the panic state. When you can get your body calmer, your brain thinks more clearly. Then you can respond instead of react. I need to jump in here. Coach, quick question. Do your athletes look amazing at practice, but when the game gets tight or you have a big competition, they panic, lose focus, fall apart, start talking negatively before they even compete, missed plays, bad body language, heads down? You know they have the talent, but pressure is winning. That's not a talent problem. That's a mental side of the sport problem. I run a team program called The Champion Within, where I train athletes using my CHAMP framework: confidence, habits, attitude, mental imagery, and purpose. I literally retrain their brains so they know how to stay calm, get focused, and compete like the champions they are. When the moments get big, they need to know how to regulate their nervous system. It needs to be automatic. The teams that win consistently, they train their minds, not just their bodies. Just go down to the show notes, click on the link, or send me a DM on Instagram with the word team, and I'll get you everything you need. Okay, let's get back to the podcast. So coaches and parents, you know you have huge influence over whether this comparison situation becomes constructive or destructive for your athletes. And you don't need to be like an expert in any area to know that you make a difference here, right? You obviously know that this impacts them. I hope you know. You have to be intentional here. First thing, when you see this happening with them, start naming what you see. The brain loves when we can put a label on things. When you notice that an athlete is in this comparing situation, I don't want you to just dismiss it with them. You don't want to say something like, don't worry about it, or just be confident, or calm down. The worst thing ever. You don't want them to feel misunderstood or even more alone. And that's what would happen if you said something like that. Instead, try, totally hear you. And it sounds like you're comparing yourself to maybe your teammates. Let's talk about what you could control here. I'm not saying they're going to love it and be like, oh yeah, let's get right in, right? I mean, especially teenagers, they're not going to be like, yeah, let's sit down and kumbaya. It's not going to be like a great conversation all the time. Just be aware that they're not going to be excited to talk about this. Nobody loves it when this is happening. When you can label it, it is a good thing. And the brain does actually crave that label. Be specific with feedback. Saying good job or do better, that is way too vague. Athletes who already feel like they don't have support from a coach, they are going to fill in those blanks with negativity. Try something like this if they had great communication. So your communication on defense this past week was great. It improved a lot. Or maybe it was their footwork. So you would say, right now I noticed that your footwork is solid, but your reaction time, it's about a step behind. Let's work on it together. These specifics are going to be really clear. It's giving them a clear path where they should go forward. And it's helping them reduce that urge to measure themselves against everyone else. It's specific for them. Parents, this one is for you. I'll admit that I didn't always do this as a parent, but the car ride home is not really the place for you parents to be talking about the game or practice. If they bring it up, that's a different story. Do you want to vent? Do you want some advice? Fine. This is important for the parents, though. You need to watch your language with your kids if you really want to be constructive here with them. If you are saying things like, why can't you play like, and insert whatever teammate you want, or God forbid you're talking about another sibling, cousin, or yourself in your past, career highlights, please no. Or if you're doing constant talk about stats and rankings, you are feeding unhealthy comparing. You need to stop it. I want you to shift the focus to effort, resiliency, and growth. Do things like this. Say, what did you learn today? Where did you push yourself? What are you proud of from this game? And this is even if it was the result that they wanted or didn't want. You don't just do this when they lose, because it's real freaking obvious if you're doing this just when they lose, right? Before I move on, parents, I love you and I know you love them. I'm just going to end it with that. Maybe some of that came off a little bit tough love. I love you. I know you love them. If you want to be more confident as an athlete, or if you want that for athletes that you lead, if you're a coach or you're a parent, you need to start at the source, not at the surface. Confidence built only on outcome is fragile. We need to be helping athletes answer these following questions for themselves. Maybe you want to write them down or go back and listen again. Who am I when I'm not performing? What kind of teammate do I choose to be? What do I bring to this team that isn't measured by a stat sheet? When your athletes are going to answer those and when the answers are clear, that grip on the comparison is going to loosen. Teammates absolutely can celebrate each other's wins without feeling threatened. And a strong performance from someone else does not mean I'm less. It means we're stronger. From there, layering on practical routines like pre-game breathing, visualization of successful plays or routines, intentional self-talk scripts individually and as a group, post-game reflections focused on learning, not judging ourselves or others. This is the work that I do with athletes every single day in my Champion Within programs. And this is transforming this comparison, the anxiety into focus, resiliency, and authentic confidence that isn't up and down, up and down. Comparison will always be a part of sports. It doesn't have to control your athlete's story. When you understand how comparing feeds anxiety, the team drama, and that quiet little voice talking down to yourself, then you can step in and change the narrative. Coaches are able to create this clear, more supportive communication. Parents can help the athlete shift the conversation away from the constant evaluation and more towards growth. It takes some time, but athletes can absolutely train their brain to notice, catch these thoughts, and replace them with more grounded, powerful self-coaching. If you, your athletes, or your team as a whole are stuck in this toxic team environment, worn down by constant comparison, or feeling weighed down by a sense of lack of support, it's not a sign to quit. It's a sign that the mental game needs attention. With the right tools, comparison can actually become a mirror for learning. Confidence stops becoming something that we hope happens, and it becomes something that you build. It is a skill. You're building it on purpose every single day. Thank you for hanging out with me on the Champion Within. Go down to the show notes, click on the links. I would love to work with you, your athletes, your team. I do this obviously with teams, but also in the corporate space. All of this that applies for athletes applies for people in the workplace too. Go down to the show notes, click on the links, and learn more about it. I would love to chat with you. Have an amazing rest of your week, and thanks for tuning in to the Champion Within. I'm rooting for you always.
Thank you for hanging out with Kate today. And whether you're going to coach, teach, cheer from the sidelines, or hitting the field yourself, remember, mindset is everything. Don't forget to follow the show for the latest episodes, as we all need a little extra motivation, humor, and sanity in our busy lives. Now, go and unleash your champion within you, one step at a time. We're always rooting for you.